Tonight, President Bush insists the economy is sound, but sites like this have Americans everywhere rattled.
We've been here since 4:30 in the morning. Have you?
As we get more troubling news about the economy. I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, John McCain had a 3-month head start. But our latest poll shows him trailing Barack Obama by wide margins among key voting groups. They play together and weigh together at a camp for losing pounds on the family plan. And an Olympian battle to get the pollution out before the athletes come in.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. President Bush tried today to reassure the country about the economy. He said it is growing, if slowly. It's a tough sell as the bad economic news just keeps coming. In fact, a CBS News New York Times poll finds 2 out of 3 Americans believe the economy is getting worse. The latest bad news, inflation, the worst in decades. Retail sales, Americans are cutting way back. And so is General Motors. Then there's that upsetting scene we've been witnessing, Americans lining up to pull their money out of a failed bank. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, Anthony Mason on the campaign to restore calm.
Morning.
It was all hands on deck this morning for the 3 skippers of the U.S. economy to assure us the ship isn't sinking. On Capitol Hill and at the White House, they tried to ease concerns about the banking system.
Do you think the system is in trouble? I think the system basically is sound. I truly do.
The housing market.
I do believe that we'll start to see stabilization in the construction of homes.
And the rescue of mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Our plan is aimed at supporting the stability of financial markets.
With fear sweeping through Wall Street and anxiety gripping Main Street, the administration's message was simple.
The economy's got problems, but let's not let ourselves get carried away and let the emotion actually make the legitimate problems worse than they already are.
But there are problems. Led by gas and food prices, inflation rose at the fastest level in almost 30 years last month.
Thank you.
The tax rebate checks have put some money in our pockets, but retailers are still struggling.
These prices are better than...
As shoppers head for bargains at discount stores like Florida's Festival Flea Market.
I love this stuff.
Dave Nassif runs sunglass shops here and in higher-end malls.
Whereas outside in malls, our business probably dropped about 30%.
Really?
Yeah, and here we've gained about 25%.
But the heart of the economy's troubles is still housing, which West Virginia builder Sandy Dunn knows firsthand.
Where I was employing 8 to 10 people on my payroll, I've now downsized
to just 2 full-time employees today. But the Fed chairman could not forecast a turnaround.
Do you see it hitting rock bottom this year, a year from now? I would have to say that there's uncertainty about exactly what the equilibrium level that house prices will reach.
The government's campaign to restore confidence did get a little help from the oil markets today. Crude actually fell more than $6. And, Katie, that's the biggest dollar drop in 17 years.
Finally, a little good news from you, Anthony.
It's nice to give you a little.
Meanwhile, government leaders are clearly trying to calm fears. But how important is the psychological aspect of all this?
Psychology is critical, Katie, because fear comes out of uncertainty, right? What do you do when you're uncertain? You back away from risk. You don't go shopping. The banks don't loan money. Investors sell their stocks. That causes the markets to freeze up. So psychology and confidence are critical.
All right, Anthony Mason. Anthony, thanks so much. Meanwhile, fear, anger, and high anxiety were the prevailing emotions outside branches of the failed IndyMac Bank out in California. Bill Whitaker is in Encino, where it got ugly today.
We've been here since 4:30 in the morning. Have you?
There was a far different mood outside IndyMac today.
Oh, Lord.
Yesterday's calm was today's anger.
Relax, you idiots. Let's not fight. Over there.
Bank employees who tried to ease the tension.
The money is safe in an FDIC-owned institution.
Only inflamed it.
Believe me, if it was safe, all these people
won't be here. That gentleman doesn't know what he's talking about. Because
Armand Garden lost $31,000 when IndyMac stock tanked. He's not taking any chances with his deposits.
I don't have any confidence in them. They're not telling the people the truth.
Lack of confidence, the constant refrain.
Because I don't believe the bank.
Like all customers with deposits above the federally insured limit, $100,000, small businessman Don Hinojosa's account was frozen. He was hot.
I got mortgage payment due, car payments due. How am I going to make those payments?
Lisa Hester Lerner got in line when she found everything above the insured limit had disappeared from her online account.
I think it's mass hysteria. I think this is similar to what happened during the Great Depression, and everybody wants their money and they want to touch it and hold it and see it.
In the 11 business days before the FDIC takeover, frustrated depositors withdrew more than $1.3 billion from IndyMac. Another troubling sign, tumbling stock prices at other major banks. After meeting with bankers, Hester Lerner found out her uninsured money was in the bank but frozen. Her frustration level?
1 to 10, I'm at about an 11.
Customer Joan Rubin said what almost everyone else was thinking.
Well, we damn well do need to be here. This is our money.
The federal government says most of the 275,000 depositors, 98% of them, can trust that their money is safe. It's just that people here don't seem to be in a trusting mood. Katie?
Bill Whitaker. Bill, thanks very much. Another sign of tough economic times is at General Motors. The automaker said today it's going back in the shop for another overhaul that will include cutting thousands of white-collar jobs, cutting back production of trucks, and borrowing $2 to $3 billion. Our Nancy Cordes asked CEO Rick Wagner if GM missed the signs that high gas prices were changing drivers' habits.
Couldn't you have avoided this situation by moving more quickly to make your factories more flexible, to be able to produce cars instead of trucks?
Sure. Well, we have been moving on a direction of flexibility, but let's be honest, there's nothing you can do when the industry drops from 17.5 million units to 14 million units.
And now to the CBS News Money Watch. Wall Street continues to slide. The Dow lost more than 92 points today and closed below 11,000 for the first time in 2 years. To the presidential campaign now, where today Barack Obama and John McCain hammered each other again over the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Here is tonight's CBS News Campaign 08 Notebook.
Thank you.
In a major foreign policy address before an upcoming trip to the Middle East, Senator Obama said fighting al-Qaeda and the Taliban in Afghanistan would be his top priority. And he renewed a pledge to withdraw all U.S. combat troops from Iraq within 16 months of taking office.
This war distracts us from every threat that we face and so many opportunities we could seize.
At a town meeting in New Mexico, Senator McCain said his opponent is wrong to make pledges before his trip.
In my experience, fact-finding missions usually work best the other way around. First, you assess the facts on the ground, then you present a new strategy.
The election, meanwhile, is 16 weeks from today, and our new CBS News New York Times poll shows Senator Obama leading by 6 points. But there are even more ominous numbers for Senator McCain in that poll. Jeff Greenfield reports he trails by a much wider margin among some key voters.
John McCain's camp agrees that it has an uphill climb, and the latest poll numbers suggest why the terrain is steep. Obama leads McCain by 9 points among women, but he leads among men as well by 3 points. George Bush carried men by 11 points back in 2004. Obama's lead among blacks is almost unanimous, 89-2, but he also has a huge lead, 62-23, among Hispanics, a big shift from 4 years ago when Bush got some 44% of the Latino vote. Obama does trail among whites by 9 points, but remember, John Kerry lost the white vote by nearly twice that margin in 2004. Obama leads among all age groups except the oldest, and among those over 65, he's only 2 points down. McCain also faces a challenge in distancing himself from a highly unpopular president. 78% of voters say that McCain would follow Bush on Iraq. Some 61% say he'd follow Bush on the economy.
McCain does have one clear advantage in the poll, Katie. Nearly twice as many people say he'd very likely be an effective commander-in-chief as Obama.
Meanwhile, Jeff, it's nearly 4 months until Election Day, and according to this latest poll, more than 1 in 4 supporters, or 28%, of both candidates say they could change their mind. Is that a surprising number of voters at this juncture who haven't signed on the dotted line for any candidate, for either one?
No, especially when you consider it's a kind of campaign where people want change, but they're not sure about the change agent. And as with Reagan in 80, with Clinton in 92, with John Kerry in 2004, voters may make up their mind very late on this one.
Or at least these voters anyway. And we have certainly learned from recent history it all comes down to the Electoral College. So how is the electoral map shaping up?
It looks good for Obama right now. In all the key battleground states that Democrats must hold, like Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, he's ahead. But he's also ahead or competitive in lots of states like Ohio and Missouri that Republicans have to have.
Jeff Greenfield, thanks very much. Back now to the war on terror. Tonight we're getting our first glimpse of those controversial interrogations at Guantanamo. Portions of a once top-secret video show a terror suspect crying out in anguish. David Martin has details.
A grainy surveillance tape provides the first real look into one of the black holes of the war against terror, the interrogation of suspected al-Qaeda operatives. This one happens to be the youngest person ever accused of a war crime. A Canadian citizen, Omar Khadr, was just 15 when he was captured in Afghanistan and sent to Guantanamo Bay. Here he shows Canadian intelligence agents the wounds he suffered when he was captured. Left alone, the disconsolate teenager wishes he were dead. Originally classified secret, the tape was released by Khadr's lawyers, who say he was, quote, softened up beforehand.
Mr. Khadr, every 3 hours, was moved from cell to cell on a 24-hour-a-day basis, 7 days a week, for 3 weeks, and then followed up with 3 weeks of solitary confinement.
American officials say he may look like a little boy lost, but he is really a hardened terrorist. He allegedly served as a translator for a top al-Qaeda operative being hunted by American commandos who leveled this compound where Khadr was hiding. Sergeant Christopher Spear was killed when someone threw a grenade from the rubble. Khadr was the only one still alive in there, although no one actually saw him throw the grenade.
Tell me what you're thinking.
If he is convicted, Khadr could be sentenced to life and never get out. His trial is scheduled to begin in October. David Martin, CBS News, The Pentagon.
And there is more CBS News ahead tonight, including a summer getaway that's a last resort for losing weight. We'll show you how entire families are enlisting in the Battle of the Bulge. But up next, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, how the mortgage giants managed to fight off attempts to rein them in. Until now.